into it. Prey is a 2022 American science fiction action horror film based on the Predator franchise. It is the 5th installment and is a sequel to the first 4 films, being set in the Northern Great Plains in North America in 1719. The film is directed by Dan Trachtenberg, best known for Cloverfield Lane and an episode of The Boys and Black Mirror. He also cut his teeth on the video game adaptation Portal No Escape, which is a short film, and it's written by Patrick Aison. It stars Amber Midthunder, Dakota Beavers, Michelle Thrush, Stormy Kipp, Julian Black Antelope, Bennett Taylor, and Dane DeLigro. The story revolves around Naru, a skilled Comanche warrior who is striving to prove herself as a hunter. She finds herself having to protect her people from a vicious humanoid alien that hunts humans for sport, as well as from French fur traders who are attacking her people and destroying the buffalo they rely on for survival. Development of the film began during the production of The Predator from 2018, when producer John Davis was approached by Trachtenberg and Aison with a concept that they had been developing since 2016. In late 2020, the film's title was revealed to be the code name for the 5th installment in the franchise. Filming took place around Calgary during summer of last year, with the entire film shot in English and some sequences shot in Comanche as well. The remaining sequences were dubbed into Comanche by the cast, reprising their roles. Prey premiered at the San Diego Comic-Con on July 21, 2022, and was released by 20th Century Studios as a Hulu original film in the United States. It was also released on Disney Plus Star internationally on August 5th. The film received positive reviews from critics, with praise for its action sequences, Midthunder's performance, Trachtenberg's direction, and the indigenous casting, with many critics calling it the best Predator installment since the first film. Audiences like this one, 7.2 from 136,000 users on IMDb, and critics similarly feel the same way. Metascore 71. Gentlemen, Rotten Tomatoes, take your guess.
I take 88.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's up there. But is it above the 80s? Jace?
Find out.
Yeah. Pop around and find out.
90.
90. Okay. So all three of us think that it's high. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 91.
You bitch.
Just to fuck with Jason.
I was gonna do that to you, whatever score you did.
I'm gonna do it because it's funny. 91.
93% certified fresh.
I'll just go first, shall I?
Yeah, go for it, Ben.
I want to jump in first because I feel as though there's obviously
I don't know. I suck at guessing.
That's fine.
No, it's all right.
I mean, you're only 5 points away.
What was I going to say about this movie? Oh, that's right. More meta commentary first. I love the way Dan Trachtenberg operates. I love that we didn't know about Cloverfield, 10 Cloverfield Lane, and its existence. We knew about its existence. I think it was like codename Celador or something up until a month or two before it released. I think it was revealed at the Super Bowl, and then released like in February or March. It was a ridiculously short communication period for that film.
Yeah.
No expectations for it, right? And I feel similarly for this, like to find out that all of a sudden, like obviously it went under a code name, and I think if I had done my research, I probably would have known that he was working on a Prey movie, on Predator movie, pardon me. But at least for me, someone who was like, I suppose, purposefully ignorant, it was just such a joy to find out that this was his next movie, and it was again in a different sci-fi universe. Obviously, like I've been a fan of Dan Trachtenberg and his non-directorial work in terms of just like his video game and movie reviews since going back to 2010. So I'm always going to be rooting for him to do well.
Yeah.
I feel like he has knocked it out of the park with this one as well. Do I think it's like one of the best sci-fi films ever made? No, I just think it is such a strong, cool, his own take on this really well-established franchise that I have no attachment to. Like, you guys might remember when we reviewed Predator on the Awesome Addiction back in the day, because I hadn't seen it. I was like, I don't get it. Like, sure, this might have been revolutionary at the time, but for me, it was a complete bore fest. And like, God love, the 40-plus-year-olds who, really enjoy this film from way back in the day. But for me, it has no place in, like, I suppose, being called one of the best action movies in the 21st century. But this take makes me understand probably what people fell in love with, why people fell in love with that first film, where like this humanoid alien that hunts things for sport, and like in a way this, you know, sort of compares favorably to your commentary, Ben, earlier about how you know, when villains play with their food, so to speak, like this completely fits the character of the Predator, right? Like when it does this, that sort of criticism is almost just sort of like just swept away by the very nature that it would make sense for a creature like the Predator. Loved the performances in this one. I thought they did a great job. I did think there was some I suppose just nitpicks with the writing that didn't particularly land. I think some of it does come down to performances. But I just love Naru's character development and character arc across this entire film. I love the interplay between her and her brother, and how there was always that mutual respect and understanding and sort of family love, but at the same time he's doing what he thinks is best for her, and he's never put in the position where we can hate him, I don't think. Like, I think all the decisions he makes are really sensible, and I think when you usually given a character like that, it's really easy to say, why aren't you listening to the main protagonist when they say this, that, and the other? But he's acting very sensibly, or reacting very sensibly to every single action that she does as well. That, you can only look at his character with respect and like also applaud him when he has his own wins as well. He's not taking away anything purposefully, or I suppose in a sinister way from our main protagonist. Everything is earned off the back of his own actions, and I really love that about this character. I found it really refreshing. And as someone who's, you know, again, I've only seen the first film, I haven't watched any of the other Predator movies, I just fell in love with this creature. I fell in love with what it was about. Like, it's different, the mechanics of how it fights and that sort of thing, and I just love the creativity of meshing together, you know, this 18th century Native American tools and weaponry in a way that allows them to sort of, you know, actually combat a creature like this. I thought there was a lot of just like really cool. I talk about a lot about the reason why I love movies like Civil War is because you get some really interesting combinations of hero on hero action where their powers are used to overcome a different hero's powers in a really unique way. I felt the same way here, where it's just like, I love how she used the Predator's own tool against it. Anyway, I feel like I'm gushing about this one. Like, I do have some small nitpicks here and there, but that's just, it was so refreshing, just particularly after the last two movies, to get a film like this and like to reinstall some faith in Hollywood for me. I was like, oh, God bless you, Dan Trachtenberg. I love this movie.
I just want to give you a tidbit of trivia. Peter Cullen, the voice actor of Optimus Prime, is the voice of the original Predator.
Okay.
He did the monster sounds. Yeah, there's a really interesting Q&A. He kind of was put on the spot by the folks to produce a monster noise, and he was like, I think he was coming on the back of some work, and he's like, it doesn't have to be this big thing, and so he just does this clickety growl thing, and they're like, ooh, we like that, and that's what ends up being like the primary sound that the Predator makes, is that kind of clicking kind of noise. I don't know if he then did the roar noise, which is also a synonymous kind of Predator sound. But yeah, Peter Cullen, just want to say a little trivia, he did the original thing for it. And it is a really fun video where it like he talks about where he kind of came up with the sound for it. Yeah,
before I pass it over to you, Terry, I will say, like, it's a don't miss it from me. I also love how even after several films, like I feel as though Trachtenberg came up with a really cool, interesting way to introduce the Predator to what's probably like a lot of new audience members, people who haven't seen those films, right? Just like, I love the way it's just like, you know, he plays with the active camouflage with those animals, like with the ants crawling up the, you know, the invisible foot, and then like the mouse, and then the snake, and it's just like, so well done. I love how it slowly unveils the more of the Predator. Anyway, over to you, sir.
Well, I just want to say, as someone who has seen all of the Predator movies, including the Alien vs Predator movies, like, and the first sequel to the Predator movie with Donald Glover, It is really nice to kind of see a movie come out where someone has handled the IP with such genuine care, because like the Predators have a huge cult following. They've got lots of like graphic novel series. I actually have the first and second omnibuses for the Predator graphic novels, and I've read read them a bunch of times. They're really good stories that really explore like the culture of the Predator, and I feel like this film does a really good job of painting a story of the Predator's purpose on being there, because it's watching these interactions between prey animals and predators, and it's hunting the predators. So it and like you see that in established in the first movie, where the predator ignores someone who's unarmed. You see it in most of the predator IPs, where someone is deemed to not be a threat and the predator like ignores them, because there's no honor in killing something that isn't a threat or that isn't a potential threat. And so watching this predator slowly work its way up the predator food chain of like the American wilderness, like with the wolf and the bear and the snake and all of that sort of stuff, was really nice, because that's what the Predators are about. They're about gaining honor and renown through trophy hunting by proving themselves against increasingly difficult enemies. And this movie does a great job of establishing that that's the purpose of this alien. He's not doing it just because he's like a meanie, but it is menacing and it's dangerous and it's bad. Like, it's not necessarily inherently evil. There's like a exactly, yeah, and it's not like Jurassic World, where it's like killing just because it likes killing. It's like this is an expression of its culture, so to speak. And I grew up loving North American Indian culture, like all of the like the war paint, the feathers, like everything about it. When I was a kid, loved it. Every time I got a chance to do like posters or book reports on that sort of stuff, I always did it. And I love seeing a movie like this where everyone who's in it, aside from the French fur hunters, are Native American Indians. And my goodness, Dakota Beavers is a handsome son of a gun. Like, that dude is very good looking, and totally believable in the role. Like you said, he's not. I like that this movie, this is a strong female character who is standing on her own merits as a strong female character. She's not being upheld just because she's a woman. She's like proving herself, seeking to prove herself on the terms that her culture have. It's like, how do the men and the warriors and the hunters prove themselves? It's like by being smart, by like actually taking home the victory of bringing home animals and things like that. And she's refining her skills like constantly, even though there's some of her tribe that are saying like no. And I think that might be a gentle kind of like patriarchy kind of overture thing, which I think is totally fine, because I think it would be like the culture that she would have been living in real terms. You probably wouldn't have had that many females that wanted to kind of put their hand up to do that and it be tolerated, I guess. So it didn't bother me like at all.
They kind of explained that away, and it's less bad because she's also awesome at the female duties.
Yes,
she's
exactly.
Like,
yeah, she's a really
medicine.
Yeah.
And
brilliant
really,
at medicine.
yeah.
She's really smart, and I love that. And I think Trachtenberg did a really great job in 10 Cloverfield Lane in the same way. That female protagonist was smart, and she couldn't overpower John Goodman's character physically, but she outwitted him. And I feel like this character basically did the same thing. She developed tools that would overcome the shortcomings that she had physically. It wasn't ignored that she was like physically less strong, but she was smarter. She could think strategically in a way, like multiple steps ahead of what she was doing. She developed like the, tomahawk with the strap that she could pull back. She mastered that probably a little too quickly. That's a little nitpick that I have. But yeah, you could do that in 3 or 4 tosses. It's like, no, the string. Anyway, I don't want to rabbit hole on how much that rope.
She had the power of the
thrown
montage, Terry.
She did have the
That's-
montage
yeah.
powers activate.
Yeah.
Yep, that's true. I loved the fight scenes between her tribe's members and the Predator. I love the fight scenes between the French pelt hunters and the Predator, and like how they're painted as like drunkard rapist dudes, because that's kind of really what they were. But even they start to like panic and freak out. I did find some elements of the thing kind of predictable, like the medicine. As soon as the symptom of that medicine happened, I'm like, oh, so that's how they're gonna deal with this kind of. I'm speaking vaguely because I don't want to spoil things. But predators, they hunt via heat vision. They have a helmet,
Thermal visor.
yeah, it's a thermal vision, and there are more. There's a bunch of ways that you can overcome thermal imaging, and in the first Predator, Arnold Schwarzenegger gets completely covered in mud, which is thick enough to create an opacity layer, which prevents the thermal information from being read.
The most words I've ever heard
Yep,
used to describe that feature.
because that's what it was.
An
'cause-
opacity layer. Yep. go on.
Yeah, well, a lot of people. All right, this is the nitpick of a movie that I don't even remember the name of. They had like a helicopter with a thermal imaging camera that was going through windows and walls to see people. I'm like, that's not how thermal imaging works. As soon as you have
That's like
glass,
sonar.
like you could stand behind glass, completely transparent. If you put like a heat camera at the thing, it would not see you, because that's not how they work. And so the mud
Remember on The
was
Simpsons,
that.
They used the thermal camera and they saw that Homer was rotating in his own sexual juices.
Oh, that is such an obscure Simpsons reference. Yeah, I don't know. I found it somewhat predictable.
Yeah.
But I didn't mind. It didn't, like, again, it didn't bother me. It bothered me a little bit that the dog was like there and not there and there and not there. I'm like, I don't know. I liked the dog. It was a handsome canine, if I'm being perfectly honest. And it was nice to see the domesticated symbiosis between the hunter and the dog, because, you know, man's best friend. Yeah, I enjoyed the movie a lot. The Predator, then some people have given it a name, and I'm like, I'm just going to call it like the primitive Predator, because it doesn't have like the plasma caster and all of the other things that the other Predators kind of have.
Yeah, they're calling it the feral.
Feral Predator, that's the one. And I think that's
cool.
aptly named. I love the shield that it's got and how it kind of
so
fans
cool.
out. It's like the gadgetry that it has is pretty cool.
Is that new? That's we haven't seen that before. sort of thing?
No, we've not seen that before. Like, we've seen
cool.
armor. We've seen them like rely on armor for certain things, and their overall physical resilience. Yeah, that's really kind of cool. Like, it made me think of very briefly, the Moon Knight, and the hippo lady and the metal wings that she gets. Kind of made me
don't
think
remind
of
me.
that. Yeah, I didn't mind that, but yeah, really cool. And
Verdict?
Don't miss. If you haven't already
Nice.
seen it, definitely see it. Definitely.
Beautiful. Mr. Movies, over to you, sir.
I was writing notes for this one, but let me go off the cuff here. Fun facts that I looked up later. One is that the brother, the Beavers,
Dakota Beavers.
he was said to have been an ancestor of Billy from the original Predator, who was
Oh,
also
wow.
a Native American tracker. And
Is that true?
that's how he was written. Yeah.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Oh, hang on. So
He was Billy is supposed to be a reincarnation of Dakota Beaver's character. That's what I think I remember.
right.
Because they both have similar passions for like they both do the last rites, the confrontation against the Predator, like they stand up and decide to fight, like same thing that Billy does in the first Predator, which gives him the rights of having his head and spine separated from the rest of his meat sack when he's killed, and the Predator keeps his skull as a trophy because he was a particularly worthy foe. He's
Yeah.
I think he's the only person that he keeps a skull of. Everyone else is just getting skinned alive, or not, not alive,
Yeah.
but
They're getting flayed.
hung upside down as a,
Yeah.
show me what you got, do better kind of
Yeah.
message
It's like
from the Predator.
pathetic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mediocre.
Yeah, mediocre. Chrome. Love it.
There's the reference from the second Predator. So when Danny Glover takes out a Predator and there's other Predators there, they reward him with a trophy and they give him a gun.
Yeah.
And he looks at it and he's like, "The fuck is this gun?" And it's like a super old gun from like
Yeah.
1700s.
It's like a
And
flintlock pistol.
that gun is in this film as well. So
Yeah,
you
it's
could
the
see-
one.
Ah.
It's the one that the French guy gives to her and like tries to
Yeah.
teach her how to shoot it.
just how to shoot it. Yeah. I just have one nitpick about it. I don't know if were you guys annoyed by this as well? There's this one part where there's a literal like a face-to-face standoff kind of towards the end, towards the final confrontation of the two opponents, and the Predator's just standing there, and there's this sequence that's supposed to happen very quickly where she's running at the Predator and she like slides under his legs, and the dog appears and the dog like throws her a weapon and she uses it to like slice his ankle, and he's like, "Ah, my ankle!" And like I'm like, what? He was just standing there for 5 seconds while you did that? Like you were like 20 meters away from the Predator before you started this move, and he's just gonna stand there and watch you slide between his legs and cut his ankle. I didn't. That was the only thing I didn't like. Everything else was really nice.
Yeah.
Terry mentioned the new technique for hiding from the Predator. I thought I am habitually terrible at following at guessing things like that. I'm easily tricked in movies, and I easily took the bait when she fell into the bog or the sinky sand and she was getting covered in mud, and I was like, "Oh, you're going to learn a valuable lesson in a
That's my
second,
fault.
girly."
Yeah.
And
then she washes herself.
but
Like,
she just washes
immediately.
herself off. It's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
well, that's over." And then and she walks off, and I'm like, but
Yeah. That's yeah.
surely this is going to come back. Didn't come back. That was just a complete curveball to throw me off the scent of the special herbs and all that stuff that does.
The 11 herbs and spices.
Yeah, so I was totally tricked, and I liked the feeling of, oh yeah, I get it now.
Yeah.
I get it now. That's good. Good job, movie. Other than that, the action was okay. The action was fine. The unbelievability of this little girl small in stature girl to be taking on a Predator ended up perfectly fine with me. Like, she's learning skills. She seems to be a tinkerer. She seems to be switched on, and she's using the Predator's weakness of disregarding her as a threat to her advantage and learning all about the Predator and how she could come about facing such a beast. And really loved all that stuff. I remember writing to Shane a little joke which I'd love to share with you guys, that some people say that she was a bit of a Mary Sue, but they are wrong. She's Mary Comanche.
Oh. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's better written down because you have to spell Sue with the IOUX for it to work. And
as in the type of Indian that
now
she
you
is.
get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Sioux were a tribe, and the Comanche a different tribe. She's the Comanche.
Yeah, no,
She's not a Mary Sue. She's a Mary Comanche.
I love that.
But she's, much an action hero as fucking Ryan Gosling doing the ungodly things he's doing in the previous film we were talking about. She gets lucky as much as he does in not just getting headshot at any moment. Like, how hard is it to shoot a guy handcuffed to a bench after all? I was kind of feeling the same thing when Chris Evans was shouting that. It's like, please, someone shoot the man handcuffed to the bench.
Yeah. It's like the whole point of you being there, but they're just like shooting it out with the cops. That's a fun scene.
It was funny. So with my forgetfulness of writing notes, those are my big thoughts. The other meta thought about this one was, I was watching it with a mate, and afterwards she said something like, "Oh, interesting. This is the first." Okay, what did she say? It's the first Hollywood blockbuster film with a majority Native American cast. And I said,
Yeah, I think yeah.
why do you have to ruin movies? Like, well, it was just a good movie.
Yeah.
Can we just agree on that? Like, do we have to put it in a tiny
But those things aren't mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
sort of box?
Like, that
and
can be
then say-
true and it can still be a great movie.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just
But it's-
saying, like,
that's
oh,
not the thing that made it a great movie.
who's
It's
keeping-
Well, no one's saying that.
yeah. No, I'm not saying that anyone here has said that
The
either.
point was that it was a good movie because of this. The point was that it was worth watching or interesting or we should pay attention to it because of this. And I'm not sure that that's the reason to watch the movie. There's
Right.
the movie's merits on its own feet to watch it. I don't know. Maybe I'm biased against Native American people. I did find it hard to chuckle when you were reading the list of actors' names. I was like,
100%. Yeah. I pre-read it earlier. I was just like, oh my God, what are these names?
Yeah.
Julian Black Antelope and all that stuff. I was like, this is funny. This is funny, right?
Yeah.
Am I the only person that doesn't get the joke because nobody's laughing? That's what I was thinking. But you know, that's these guys' real names. Go for them,
Yeah.
guys.
There's a TV series that Jen and I like called Longmire, and there's a character in that takes place in Wyoming, and it's near the res. And a lot of the characters have those names. One of my favorite characters, his name's Henry Standing Bear, and I think that's one of the coolest surnames. And Henry is one of our favorite characters from that show as well.
Yeah, right.
Nice.
So yeah, it does make me laugh. Although Beavers almost does because of the euphemism
Yeah.
that it's used for.
Beavers. No.
Yeah.
Verdict, Ben, what say you?
I say don't miss it. I think it was really good. I like Predator, the first one, still the best.
Yeah.
I think Predator 2 is pretty good. I haven't watched it in a long time, but
It's okay.
the other ones can go eat a dick or whatever. I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all just that. And then this one was really nice. I quite liked this one. It was good. I
Nice.
also actually quite liked how it wasn't just dripping with nostalgia and
Yes,
service.
yeah.
I really loved how they tried their best to restrain themselves from being like, remember Predator? Remember how this happens in Predator?
Yeah.
To the degree that there was this moment, like in every Predator movie, you have to have a Predator stitching himself up from his wounds, and it's
And
painful
then-
to him movie.
Yeah, and then
Sorry,
roaring.
part. Yeah, but like,
Yeah.
monster or whatever. And why? First of all, but second of all, they kind of did that, but it was more a homage to like Rick and Morty. To me, it was like the Pickle Rick episode where they also were ripping off Predator when they were doing this, but it was more like the way that Rick and Morty did it than the way that the original Predator did it, where it's like Rick as a pickle is like stapling himself and like, you know, putting his goo back inside or whatever, and the assassin who also was a Native American assassin is also like doing the same thing. He's like pouring, you know, like pouring bullet powder into a wound and then like setting it afire to cauterize the wound, whatever, all that kind of junk. And they're doing it and it's hilarious, and they're both doing it very quickly. And that happens in this. If I remember correctly, you've got Naru who has to like quickly like whatever she's doing her herb thing, fixing her gash in her leg or whatever I think it was. And then you like flick back and forth between her and her primitive medical technology and his super advanced medical technology, and they're going back and forth and getting ready for the round 2 or whatever. And I thought it was almost funny.
Fight.
The movie isn't supposed to be funny, but that part to me was meta funny. I quite liked it. There was another thought, but I can't remember what it was. It doesn't matter.
That's right. We can come back to it if you remember it.
The Amber Midthunder lady had to put on this face of like, okay, you're the most terrified you have ever been by an order of magnitude in your life, looking at what you're seeing in front of you, and there's like a bear being ripped apart, like right on top of her or whatever kind of thing. And she nailed that shot. I felt as terrified as she looked when she put that face on. It was just really good. I like that.
Yeah.
Nice. Before I pass to you, Jace, interesting note here that I found in the IMDb trivia. I think Dan Trachtenberg was really trying to surprise people because he said that this leaked. Like he wanted to be a surprise. There's a note here saying Trachtenberg was bummed that news of the film leaked, and then tweeted, quote, "This was meant to be a surprise. Been working on this for almost 4 years now. I'm very sad that what we had in store for how you could discover this movie will no longer happen. It's a bummer, but also yay, I suppose, that the fact that it's been confirmed that he's working on it. So bless me and my complete blissful ignorance and the fact that I don't keep up to date with this sort of stuff, because it was effectively a surprise for me.
What was he?
I reckon honestly it was because this film was like debuted, premiered, shown like San Diego Comic-Con, and then released 2 weeks later. I reckon he would have rocked up. I was like, so I've got a movie for you guys.
Yeah.
Let me show it to you. And then it's releasing in 2 weeks. Yeah. That would have been this is what we talk about, right? This is what we talk about, going to the movies, not knowing what we're like. In a perfect world, you sit down, you don't know what you're going to watch, and all of a sudden, holy shit, there's a new Star Wars movie out after 20 years, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I love the idea of that happening with games, because Blizzard would announce a game and it's like TBD, like we don't even know when it's coming out. Like it takes 6 fucking years from when they tell you about it.
Yeah.
And like imagine they just said at a BlizzCon once, it's like, so we've been working on Diablo 4. Maybe some of you have guessed that we might have announced Diablo 4. Well, we're more than announcing it. It's out.
Tomorrow.
You're all trapped here.
Today.
You're all trapped here at BlizzCon. Everyone else in the world is now running out of their houses to go and get Diablo 4, downloading it.
How many people would actually just run out and leave BlizzCon at that moment? Yeah,
that would be super
amazing.
Funny. But
maybe it would also be like, everyone look under your seats, like an Oprah Winfrey moment.
An Oprah Winfrey,
and that kind of thing. You'll get a download key, and that kind of thing. Everyone would be like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Half the auditorium runs out, and they're like, we're just kidding. It's Diablo Immortal.
Don't you have phones?
Anyway, Mr. Mira, I'm keen to hear what you think of Prey. You enjoyed 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Loved
Am I
it.
right?
Loved it.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it. Yeah. A lot of the thoughts have already been said by the boys. One thing I want is how does Naru not have like a severe head injury by the end of this film?
Yeah.
She is knocked out, blacked out for several hours, multiple times in this film.
Yeah. Yep. And within short periods of time, like that's concussions on concussions.
She is gone.
Yeah.
Like
she's gonna have a stutter forever.
No way. But again, suspend your disbelief, right? We're watching about.
It's an action movie with an action hero. It's crazy.
She's badass. Yeah.
And so I didn't know that they're actually French, that they were speaking French. The whitey.
The whiteys.
I just thought they were speaking some gibberish that the film had created, because I guess because we're listening to the Comanche talking in English.
Oh right, you thought they might have been like Britons.
It's like Frenchlish,
and we're in her movie, her world.
And we don't understand what they're saying.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
they're going like Jean m'appelle Jacques, and you're going like, I don't know what they're saying.
Yeah, pretty much. So I thought that was really interesting to view the movie in that way. And then they were French. So
that's so funny.
That's
great.
So yeah, I thought it was I liked how they were like planting seeds to the beginning of how things will turn out towards the end, with the flowers and all that kind of stuff. He's a better shot. The brother is a better shot with the bow and arrow, but she's the more patient one, type thing.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed some of a lot of times you've got action movies that shoot in the dark and it's very hard to track what's going on, and it just doesn't make sense. Why have an action scene and make it dark so you can't actually see the action? But here it contextually makes sense. They're hunting in the dark, and that's what she has an advantage in. She's got his visor. Sure, she doesn't really know what it does, but like she knows she's taking something from it.
Yeah.
To have the advantage. And like a lot of the people I hear talking about this film is it's always been about brains over muscle with defeating the predator.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what she did. So yeah, I mean, I won't vamp on about it too much because a lot of my thoughts have been covered. One thing I did note in some of the trivia here on IMDb is in the ending sequence where you're looking at the cave paintings of what's going, of the retelling of the story in the cave drawing, is that you can see one of the alien dropships above the tribe, above the tents and whatnot. So, like, another theory I heard is, you know, they actually came back to visit Naru, you know, predators visit Naru, and brought her back with them to, I guess, train with them and whatnot, and that's how they got the pistol that they gave to Danny Glover in Predator 2.
Yeah. That's in the omnibuses, that happens a couple of times. There are a couple of humans that manage to prove themselves worthy to become a blooded predator, and they get like the mask and they've got the mark on the helmet and stuff.
Yeah. In the Predators film, I think there's like a comic book that they took Adrian Brody's character back up and they got his armor. I think if I'm remembering that, but yeah, I mean. Don't miss it. Like, this is definitely, if you like the Predator franchise, like, watch it, because it's an essential part of the franchise.
Yeah, definitely.
It's awesome. I really enjoy it. I really enjoyed it, and it's refreshing. Like Shane said, it's very refreshing to see something with good ideas and fresh ideas. You know, and like, I don't know how to explain it, but it was clean. I don't know, like the filming, like the cinematography was just clean. It wasn't overly like. There's no strong color filter. It seemed like there was a lot of natural light. It was very cool. I mean, obviously there was that scene in the fog and the burnt trees and whatnot, which is very stylish.
Yeah,
everything else was very easy to follow for me. So yeah,
crisp.
Prey.
Nice, green across the board from all of us here on the Movie Magic Show.
Watch live.
Nice. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, I tweeted out that after finishing my viewing of it, that hand Dan Trachtenberg the keys to whatever sci-fi franchise he wants next. Seriously.
Yeah.
I'm just looking. I'm looking at 20th Century Fox owned franchises. Obviously, things like X-Men, Fantastic Four. There's also Alien, Die Hard, Planet of the Apes. I think just give him just hand him a blank check, honestly. The budget for this film was $65 million.
Whoa.
Like,
lots of practical effects. I did watch a thing about, sorry to cut you off. There was the Feral Predator's whole, like, kit and caboodle was practical. Which is, like, super, like, animatronics and puppetry. Really good.
Anyway, that is our review of Prey. It is available on Disney Plus or Hulu if you live in the States.